Hello, Professor. This is Mark Ortiz. I made a video of my presentation in the event that I would be unable to attend class and present. As you know, my research question is, should college athletes gain more compensation, or do they deserve more compensation? More specifically, can the NCAA and its member schools accommodate this additional compensation while preserving the notion of what they were founded upon, which is amateurism in college sports? Additionally, does the NCAA and its members have the capacity to pay college athletes more? How would that impact them in the future? So, general topic: why do we care? Well, the NCAA currently, as it is, college athletes, their primary focus is not education, and through its entire career or existence, the NCAA has always prioritized that education first, sports second. Well, sports are such a big deal and moneymaker for universities, and coaches are paid so much money that sports are the priority, and it's academics and education that are taking the back seat. Secondly, college athletics is a billion-dollar industry. Just to reference, the NCAA brings in $1 billion just this past year for March Madness tournament. Just the tournament alone brought in $1 billion. The football bowl conferences for the new playoff system, the TV contract for the universities, that's now $18 billion is what they're set to make over the next 12 years. So it's a big money business, and the players are not allowed to market themselves in any way. So why do we care? It's unfair for universities and their member schools to collect all of this money and make millions of dollars when the players themselves don't get to really see a penny of it. Athletes are bound by the NCAA rules. The NCAA Committee on Infraction is cutthroat. They, in no way can you sell a jersey if you're a player. You can't market yourself. You can't have a sponsor. You can't even have Aquafina sponsor you for a water bottle commercial or anything like that. It's highly regulated, and the players are not allowed to market themselves. So to put this in perspective, if you're a business major and you come up with a small business plan or a scheme that you want to do, and you like it and you try it out in real life, which is actually encouraged, I've been a part of it over at Anderson, you're allowed to go then in turn make money off of that and apply it to the real world with your friends. You can create a small business, but just because you came up with it in school, that doesn't stop it. So all other students in college is a free market regardless of what program you're in, except for athletics, and that is also unfair. So some highlights to bring everybody up to speed as to how we got where we are today. Things changed. The landscape of the NCAA has changed. So let's go over some of those. It was established in 1906 based on the foundation of amateurism. You play the sport because you love it and you play for school pride, and that's it. Even all the way up into the 1950s, it was noted in the violations of amateurism that scholarships were by nature a violation. So if you had a scholarship, you're violating the NCAA rules. Obviously, that changed. Title IX, 1975, equality for women in athletics and sports in all universities. You have to offer the same amount of athletic programs for men and the same for women. An example is UNM does not have a men's volleyball team. It's popular on the East Coast, it's popular on the West Coast, but in order to keep within that, we have cross-country skiing and other things like that, but no men's volleyball here versus other universities. More importantly, the same amount of scholarships are to be offered for men and women at universities. The biggest one, perhaps, that changed the way and kind of broke down the walls for money to be made by all of these universities and the NCAA too, is the 1984 ruling of the Board of Regents versus the NCAA. At the time, pre-1984, the NCAA was regulating the amount of college football games that each school could have on TV, and that's per year. And the conferences and the schools stepped up, saying, "Hey, this isn't fair. You don't have the right. Who are you to say that we can't have this many games on TV? We want to support our fans and give our fans what they want and be able to watch it on TV." The Supreme Court ruled in favor of the Board of Regents, and as you see now, universities and conferences have their own television contracts, millions of dollars each year of revenue that is generated and applied to education programs and facilities and things of that nature, which is a wonderful thing. But now that money is so large that a lot of the athletes are asking for an additional piece of the pie. 2014, just recently, the governance structure of the NCAA was restructured. It was more horizontally spread out versus their vertical, which they had before. This new governance allowed for players to be a part of policy making and decision making, and as well as athletic directors to sit on committees and be a part of the committee on infractions. That way, it wasn't solely dictated by the NCAA, and it was more of a fair judgment system. So, by definition, I'm going into my literature review now. What I found, I pretty much focused on all the case studies and all the cases that I could find, legal cases that were brought against the NCAA or universities in regards to compensation, debating whether or not in each state college athletes are employees. Do they deserve to be paid more? Should they have a right to free market? Can they unionize? So there's several of those. There's hundreds of them that have all popped up pretty much within the last 10 years or so. And the reason this started to happen is because the Committee on Infractions got so good at what they were doing in the 90s, because regulations on recruitment of athletes and basketball stars was getting out of hand. People were being paid money under the table and all of that. And the NCAA fixed it. They tightened it up, and it still happens, but to a large extent, they've erased a lot of it. So gone are the days where athletes just got paid under the table and boosters paid athletes. So now that that's not happening, all these cases are being brought to them by athletes saying, hey, we're employees, where's our money? By definition of common law, antitrust laws, labor agreements, athletes are in every sense of the word employees by the university, and the amount of time they spend practicing and in meetings justifies it. So I'm going to highlight two cases here as to what I focus on that are big and they're actually current. In 2014, the Northwestern University players applied to unionize and collective bargain and gain benefits. The Illinois Labor Union ruled in favor of them initially, and then later on were overruled by the regional area, saying that they could not unionize because they were part of the Big Ten, the only private university in the Big Ten, and it would upset the balance of that conference, which is agreed. One private university allowing players to gain benefits and additional compensation or stipends over and being at a conference versus where the public universities don't do that clearly would gain a competitive advantage. But the point is that universities are knocking on the door. The biggest one perhaps out of all of these hundreds of lawsuits is the Ed O'Bannon case. Ed O'Bannon was he's a basketball star on the UCLA team, and in 1974 they won several championships throughout the course of the season. He was playing an EA Sports video game with him and his son, and his son said, "Hey, Dad, that's you. How much are you getting paid for that? Or are you making any money off of that?" And he said, "Well, no, I'm not." Well, the video game portrayed him, his number, his skin tone, his left-handed shooting style. It had everything on him, his style, his dribbling, except for his actual name on the back of the jersey. And the whole team was the same way. And they do this for football games and all of that stuff. So this kind of created an uproar and created many cases similar to this against EA Sports and the NCAA, saying you're using our likeliness, you're using us, you're promoting us, you're selling our jerseys in your store. If I type in Reggie Bush USC jersey, I can find the jersey, pops up right away. It's just they're saying it's not fair to get a piece of the pie. Anyway, different rulings have occurred in various places, but what is clear is that change is happening, and it's just unsure how the change is gonna take place as far as compensation. Just recently, within the last 12 months, the Big Ten Conference was the first to guarantee scholarships. They sat down, and no longer can universities void scholarships based on injury or performance. So for 4 years, athletes are guaranteed scholarships. What people are still arguing in these cases is that they do deserve benefits. What about bridging the gap between medical expenses? What about after college if you're suffering from something, clearly from an injury that you gained, or you lost your scholarship from an injury? What about back compensation? So that leads me to my I have qualitative research design to say what further research can I do onto how to fix this problem, because change is going to occur. It's just a matter of how will these athletes, past and present, be compensated. So I would look into each state labor union laws in accordance to the new governance with the NCAA, and to see how they can interact with their conferences and adjust policies. Can the NCAA in turn start to regulate the amount of money that the college programs are bringing in via football programs? Because right now, none of the football money is filtered through the NCAA. Only the basketball money, which 80% of that basketball money of the $1 billion estimated is filtered all the way back to the member schools. Whereas the football money, not a penny of it's being seen, and that's a huge piece of the pie. So the NCAA needs to find out how to come together and or maybe even regulate how the universities are spending on athletes. Okay, and then I think it would be smart to compile a list. I would also compile a list of lawsuits brought against universities and the NCAA regarding compensation in the last 5 to 10 years. So my conclusion is the NCAA and its members do have the capacity to pay athletes. It's just a matter of how will they regulate these changes and adjust for it. College athletes do deserve to be increased compensated and increased freedom. So right now, it's still not a free market. It seems as if research suggests that they should be a free market. It's just, can it be completely free? That would, in effect, almost destroy amateurism in sports if each athlete's allowed to market themselves. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of rulings in courts pass down, whether it's through courts or legislative things. And will it be a state-by-state basis, or will it be a conference basis? Are these universities going to get together and make decisions like the Big Ten did to guarantee scholarships? And so my contribution to this research, obviously, I'm not in a position to make a dramatic change. I did choose quite a large topic, but overall, I would aim to increase awareness to groups and organizations and athletes just about what's going on and what's happening, and ensure equality for all students, regardless of athletes of all students, whether you're playing for a D3 or a D1 school, just the equality and equal treatment for students. And just to hold the NCAA and its members accountable, because for a long time, they were able to make the rules and do what they wanted and say what they wanted. So hopefully stuff like this brings to light and holds them more accountable. And that's it. Thank you.